Well, worst possible scenario came true. A selfish, irresponsible, intoxicated driver plowed into the back of my van while in downtown Savannah, Georgia. The impact not only broke and emptied cabinets all over the floor, but it bounced me off the back doors and threw me up by the cab. I knew immediately that this was bad, very bad. Despite me hobbling around on bloody knees, the intoxicated driver never apologized or asked if I was okay. She even started cussing at me when I tried to explain the gravity of the situation. I no longer had any transportation, no home, and no idea what kind of injuries I had sustained. She could care less. Luckily, the police showed up shortly thereafter. They took me to the hospital and took the piece of shit to jail. While recovering at a local hotel, I tried to hold out hope that just maybe my van would be repairable. That wasn't until I pulled into the tow yard. She hit it so hard that it rippled the sheet metal on the opposite side of the van. It somehow even managed to break the front windshield. The entire chassis was twisted. I just started packing up as fast as I could. Mentally, I can barely keep it together. A year and a half of research and work, all destroyed by some selfish bitch in an instant. I'll never see this van again. And what am I going to do now? I'm hoping I can at least share some useful info here should someone find themselves in a similar situation. Okay, tip number one, check your surroundings. I know this sounds pretty obvious, but worth going over. You want to make sure the area is well lit, ideally minimal traffic, and also maybe a buffer. In my case, there had been a couple cars parked behind me, but unfortunately at some point they had moved. Insurance policy limits. You want to make sure they cover everything. Unfortunately, the Department of Insurance allows people to write woefully inadequate policies. Therefore, despite whether an accident is your fault or not, shockingly, you need to make sure that your policy covers everything. In this case, for example, the impaired driver held a $10,000, $25,000 policy with the general. She damaged three vehicles and city property, but her policy only allows a payout total of $10,000. Crazy, huh? There are additional coverages you can and should get. PIP is your personal injury protection, which will help cover your medical bills. Uninsured motorist is just what it says, in case someone runs into you and has no insurance, or in my case, the underinsured motorist is what I will have to rely on to try and help cover some of the losses. You want to make sure and accept all of these coverages as they are only pennies on the dollar. I am finding this out the hard way, but I would avoid a policy with Liberty Mutual or Safeco. They don't seem to have their customers' best interest at heart. Do not use budget car sales. Despite signing up for my rental on their app, I was billed twice the quote provided. Most insurance companies use enterprise rental car, so you might as well start there. Find a reputable attorney. Turns out Morgan & Morgan's free consultation requires signing a contract to retain on your first phone call. This is just a quick overview of some of the steps you need to consider. Document as much as possible. Photos and videos from the scene are very beneficial. Go to the hospital. Get yourself checked out. You want documentation on everything moving forward. You don't want to leave anything to chance. Call and file a claim with your agent. They may recommend some other steps. You will also want to obtain a copy of the police report. Document your injuries and keep a journal on progress of your recovery. Retain a personal injury attorney. Most attorneys will not be interested in helping you with the property damages, but they will help you with your personal injury case. You do not have to choose a local attorney, i.e. in the state of the accident. If you know someone in your home state, they can typically represent you, unless it has to go to court, at which time they can hire someone to appear for them. You can plan for a personal injury attorney to charge you 25 to 35% of the awarded judgment. Schedule follow-up appointments with all doctors. Set up all tests, x-rays, MRIs, and follow a strict physical therapy schedule. Compile all receipts and invoices from your van build project. Using this information, research reputable van build companies and acquire comps on what it would cost to replace your vehicle. Compile a list of all additional expenses: rental cars, hotel stays, lost wages, and fuel costs. This should all be reimbursed. That's pretty much the bulk of it. But if you have any specific questions, feel free to post up down below. I'll be happy to answer any specifics you have. The best tip is to try and keep your head up, which can be tricky, but that's where friends and family step in. A neighbor lent me a rental house, a friend lent me a car, other friends offered me side jobs, and some included watching pets, which is always a bonus. There was still a lot to manage, but I set a goal to be back on the road in 3 months. I went to physical therapy twice a week, exercised at least 4 to 5 days a week, and watched the RV classifieds. I replaced the mountain bike as soon as I could get back to pedaling, and once I was finally able to receive a partial payment, I was on a plane to Asheville to pick up a used Travato. While I'd missed my build, there was no option to set up in my shop again for the better part of a year to build another one out. This was the only way to try and meet my goal. And despite 3 weeks of modifications and outfitting the van for my purposes, I was on the road 5 days shy of my goal. I admittedly consolidated this as much as possible to close this chapter and move on. But seriously, I wouldn't want anyone else to have to go through this. So if you have any questions, you can post down below or message me. Again, thanks for watching. Let's end this one with safe travels. Keep an eye out for the next episode. I will finally be heading north, but not until I stop in southern Ohio to do some dual sport riding.